I'm assuming we don't have enough public comments on anything about that here. Do we have anybody involved? I think all of them keep being the man. Okay, Mr. Chris, we're ready for you. Go ahead, to come into the building. We're going to do what? Yeah.
All right, everything, all programs are coming right along. Everybody's staying real busy. It's vacation time, so we've got a few people out on vacation, a few people that are sick here and there, but everything seems to be happening pretty well over there. Program by program, we can go through. I didn't get the adult services numbers in time. Very little change to their numbers at this time. They are having to go through and re-enroll their wards that we have, the adults that are more or less in our custody. They have to be re-enrolled into the Medicaid transformation stuff, so that's something they're working on right now. The deadline for that is coming up next month. So I can talk a little bit more about Medicaid transformation if y'all want me to, but basically it's the state is more or less privatizing the insurance side of Medicaid, so that the insurance companies that contract with the state will assume the business and liability of the claims that get made through Medicaid. Each person that is eligible must pick one of those insurance companies to be their carrier of their Medicaid. It behooves everybody that's got Medicaid that needs to pick one of those programs to learn a little bit about those. We aren't charged with providing that information, but we do have the obligation to report to folks who they can contact and how they can get in touch with those people to learn more about their program. If they don't pick something by next month, then the state's going to pick it for them, and that's not going to make anybody happy. Even though it might be the best choice, people want to decide for themselves. And right now, we're sitting at about a 2% rate of people in Graham County, the 12 or 1,300 folks that are due to pick a plan. Only about 2% of them have done that until now. So I really need to get the word out to folks that if they've got Medicaid and they want to be in charge of their own destiny, to call the enrollment broker and learn which plan they want to go with. So I'll work with Kim and Cecilia about getting some public service stuff out, some announcements out to folks, so we can get that percentage increase up. Everything else has been going right along in adult protective services. They haven't been really busy, so they can get called out and cleaning up their offices and stuff. Child protective services, on the other hand, has been very busy. Just to start off, we did have a case review by our regional child welfare consultant from the state last week, and he was just really pleased with the records and really pleased with the work that's going on. He said, we've got good work going on and it's showing up in the records. And night and day difference, he says, from some of the last reviews he's done in Graham County. So the workers are working hard, and that work is making it down into the documentation and showing up what it's supposed to. Of course, there's always going to be some little things we can work on, but we'll keep doing that. So you can see they had 21 child protective services reports in March. They screened 16 of those in, and 5 of those either didn't meet the definitions that we need to be involved with, or were screened out to another county with the conflict. We did also take in 2 assist requests from other counties that needed some help, and we asked another county to help us out with the case. That's something else I'm kind of keeping track of, is to make sure we've got some equity going on with all the other counties. We do have 19 open investigations right now and 4 in-home cases. I think we've got 1 case coming up that's going to transfer into in-home, and several of those investigations are going to be closed out, so things are pretty painful. It says 19, but I think we're in the process right now of making that 21. 21 instead. I think by the end of the night we'll be at 21 instead. Children in custody. And then 4 young adults into our 18 to 21-year-old program. And still working on getting foster homes licensed. I think Cassie's finished all of her training now and is getting geared up and ready to get out there and start recruiting some new foster homes. Child care subsidy is still doing well. There's 2 child care centers open in the county now, operating at full capacity. The Southwestern child care facility is still not open, and there doesn't seem to be a high volume of folks seeking child care at this time, so they have not reopened it. We do have subsidy funds available for those folks that meet the requirements for subsidy can qualify for that. And there are some open spots for child care, so that's a good thing in our county, because a lot of counties just don't have any child care right now. A lot of centers are still closed, or they spend all their subsidy money on that. So we're in good shape there. I think we also had a child subsidy review last month that went really well. The folks we contracted do a really good job on that program. The child support everything's on target with Pam's program. The state representative completed another, that's supposed to stay on March 8th. She completed another review and we were at 100%. And you can see our goals and our numbers there are in pretty good shape for this year. 8 new cases added on to her caseload for a total of 247 in March. Food and nutrition services, they're doing well. They haven't seen a ton of activity, haven't seen a lot of applications coming in, but it's pretty steady. There's just not a high volume. And you can see they took in 14, disposed of 18, approved 15, denied 2 of the 3. Total cases are 762. That's a pretty low number. Some folks in other larger counties, that's about 1 person's caseload in some of the larger counties. So that's why we combine our program, have everybody do a little bit of everything. We're still helping folks over the phone, but as we've opened up our lobby a little bit, every once in a while somebody needs some help, and it'll speed things up a little bit. The workers that be good about coming out and talking with folks and getting applications filled out correct and signed, so they don't have to call people back and just sign a piece of paper. So that's the one the pandemic EBT benefits have started up again for the school year. So families that have school-age children that are receiving food and nutrition services are getting some extra help with the pandemic EBT program this year. My next step, mine and Chelsea's next step in that program is to start working with Andy in the school system to see what we can do about bringing our numbers up to where all the children that are in Grant County school system qualify for the free reduced lunch program, so we can make sure everybody gets a couple of good meals every day. I'm pretty sure there's just something we need to tweak or do a little bit differently to get us up above that number. It's going to take us working with the school to get that done. We have the data of who all's getting the services, but the school sends out their own information to the families and relies on that information coming back. So there's a big gap in here somewhere of people that even aren't self-reporting to the school that they're receiving services, and we can't offer that information to the school. So we just need to work out a system to get those numbers up. Energy assistance, we had a really good year with energy. We approved a lot of applications and everything, but the big figure was there were separate funds for pandemic energy this year, and there was regular LIHEAP and COVID LIHEAP, and then combined both of those, we spent about $75,000 in that program on the citizens of Grant County this year for heat assistance and energy assistance. So that's a pretty big plus. That's probably about 20 or 25,000 more than normally that we send out. So it's a pretty good year for that. And we still have some crisis intervention program funds remaining that'll carry us through summer to help with cooling costs. Program integrity is about the same as holding on. We did have somebody come in and make a payment towards their charges there. Adult Medicaid, they're fully staffed again. Our new hire, Kay's doing really well. She's her training is being expedited just because of her experience with NC Fast. So she's coming online really quick. The big news is our audit, our 10-month-long audit started this month. We've sent in our first 20 cases, and we've heard back from 4 of those cases that they were correct with no errors. So as long as those emails keep coming in, we'll be happy campers. So kudos to the Medicaid unit for doing good, solid work there. Only 196 more to go. Family and Children's Medicaid, they're staying busy as well. All their numbers are in good shape. They're processing their applications timely, and just staying on top of things. It really helps with them being stable, staff-wise, and everybody being back at work. So things are going really well here. Fiscal NEMT. The NEMT stuff I'm a little concerned about with this Medicaid transformation, because we're going to have to rely on these insurance companies from the greater metropolitan areas to contract with our local providers and take the calls from citizens who are used to calling either us or transit to get something done. They're going to have to call somebody from Blue Cross or whoever else they decide to have their case with. And I haven't seen any real solid planning from the state, or not necessarily the state side, but with these insurance companies reaching out and signing a lot of contracts with folks. They did send me some data today, but I haven't had time to review it as far as how many vendors they've been able to contract with. But I don't think it's very many. So I'm sort of expecting there to be some pretty substantial bumps in that road when that switch flips in October. Or actually July, I'm sorry. Front desk, we continue to kind of tidy and organize the workflow there. I started kind of decluttering. We get caught up with having to put up all these flyers and stuff that they send to us. And after a while, if you just don't take some of that stuff down and deal with it, it just gets confusing to everybody. When you put something up that they really need to see, they don't see it for all the other stuff. So just trying to keep that clean and keep our processes clean up there. So I'll probably do some training with our services supervisors and our front desk folks to make sure that things are happening the way they should be when applications come in. Several of the larger things coming down through the state have to do with child protective services. The state's looking at doing a new, what they call a practice model, which is sort of a standard way for us to behave and act out the policies. That's a really big shift that hasn't happened since 2003, I don't think. So that's a really big thing happening. The use of the software system, the data system that they use for the economic benefits, the NC Fast program. That's the committee I'm involved in at the state level, and sort of taking some steps to separate those two programs so they can be their own thing. And this is just something we learned about today. So that's a good move, I think, to have, because those programs are so wildly different. There's no reason for them to be in the same shoebox, so to speak. So they're working on pulling those out and having to be 2 separate units. So that's a pretty big chunk of bureaucracy that's happening, and then the Medicaid transformation that's going on. So just trying to stay up on all those things and keep us on point with everything. That's sort of how that happens.
Chris, is there any plan to reopen those daycares?
Until they see the need, they probably probably won't, the one we have here. That's I asked the same question, is what's stopping y'all from reopening? And they're like, well, we have open capacity to the 2 centers we have now, so until they see enough children needing daycare to warrant opening that facility, I don't guess they will.
I wonder if the parents are sitting at home waiting on them to open.
Could be.
I think McDonald's, cannot open their dining room because they can't get their employees, back. Maybe Wendy's too, I don't know if Wendy's are at their dining room open or not, but I think that might be part of it, but people don't know that they would open it. You know, if there was a demand, I think people see it closed and are waiting to go on their road.
Okay. I'll give Sheila a call. She's the head of the Southwest Child Care Commission. Talk with her and see if there's any movement on that, and then let her know.
I don't understand how this insurance thing's gonna work either. That sounds like a trade that's looking for a place to happen.
Yeah, my view on it is it's sort of privatizing a public service good. That's just kind of a weird combination sometimes. A lot like mental health reform that took place back in the late 90s. So, yeah, it's
Time will tell, right?
somebody will save money somewhere, and that usually equates to somebody not getting something somewhere.
I don't think it'll work myself. I'm sure I don't understand all there is to know about it.
Yeah. Well, I think
It's a solution looking for a problem.
all the medical stuff, I think will work its way out, but I'm more worried about the transportation part of it. Like, I've heard no plan at all for what to do about gas vouchers, and that's like 80 to 85% of our medical transportation stuff is gas vouchers. So,
Oh, yeah, it's in past, it's been this wonderful thing, and it's been a nightmare for 8 years now,
yeah,
and they still don't know what to do with it.
right. Keep pumping money into it.
And the county,
Well,
have to deal with it.
yeah, the workers end up with the frustration of it. I think the total cost of that program is something like $119 million, and part of that was, portion of that, I think it was 25% or 50% was state, and then the other 50% was federal. And if the state totally scraps it, then they have to pay back that federal portion as well as lose the 50% that they put into it. So nobody that is running for any kind of election wants to be the guy that has that under his name, the big person that pulled the plug on $119 million for nothing. So we're just going to have to keep figuring out a better way to do it. So,
Thank you, Chris.
sure.
Your old news. That farmer's not.
Oh, yeah, that's mine. Is since we've had to move our cars inside the gate there, it's left those parking spaces outside the gate that we normally park our cars in open, and staff have been struggling to find a place on that side to park with. So I don't know if we can get some small signs up that just indicate that it's for staff parking.
Well, basically, we talked, I
don't think it'll be very much to just put a few signs up. It's like 5 or 6, because that's all.
Give us an idea what you'd like. I'll give us some examples of what you like, names and prices, yeah.
All right.
We'll look at.
Very good.
know that a lot of people aren't going to listen to me.
They may not, but we'll get it on it.
Yeah.
We have still some. Yeah.
You have anything more
How about
about
anything
it?
else, no, sir?
Okay, you made it go on, we got this,
All right.
I'm sorry.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Can I have you folks, before we get into this other, have you have something for DSS making or anything?
No, we're just here to learn.
Okay. All right. You guys want this?
Good evening, commissioners. Got a few things we set on the table. Some of them aren't as pressed as the others. We've got an opportunity here, I think, a real good opportunity when it comes to metal buildings, and we probably need to make a decision by Friday. But there's a couple of things also that we'd like to make a decision on, fairly simple. The first thing is, as you know, last year, because of COVID, we did not provide any money for the Graham County festivals, which is through the town, and it's Brian Johnson who's the chairman of that. You'll see in front of you, they're asking for allocation this year. They are going to do festivals in Graham County and Robbinsville, and they're requesting $10,000. So I'd like to ask commissioners to consider approving this money for festivals this year. As I said, last year we did provide the money, but I think we have in the past.
My suggestion is we'll approve or disapprove in the budget cycle. Are they asking for?
I think it's for this year. I mean, they'll probably, I'm not sure 100% if they need it prior to July, but I'm assuming that's what they're asking for, to cover from now through the whole season.
Because they'll need to order those for the 4th of July.
Yeah, fireworks, and that sort of stuff. It's all of Graham County Festival activities, is they're asking for help on that.
We didn't do that, but we go free then in the 2021 budget.
No, we only funded special appropriations for human services related items because of COVID, with the idea that if things open back up, then we would take these requests.
Well, I'm going to approve it. Got a motion?
No, I'll see. That's what we normally do, isn't it?
With that motion, we'll need to do a budget amendment
Okay.
to bring that in.
You hearing all this, Lynn?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All for it?
You got
Hold on.
Yes, for 10,000.
10,000, that's correct.
Oh, it'll be budget amendment. I can look it up right there. Give me 1 second.
Budget for it, but don't have no festival, we'll get it right back.
Contingent on the festival.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's not any good if we get act for that.
It'll be budget amendment 19.
Budget amendment 19. So that two separate votes.
I think we get this all in one. Is
Okay.
that right? You think? You'll have to be in this.
I'll make my motion
Just a
to
minute.
approve the request from the Graham County Festivals Committee for $10,000 for 2021 and approve budget amendment number what?
19.
19.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right. Next item would be the Little Snowbird Creek repair. I want to go out and take a look at where this was. I haven't had a chance. We've been working with so many other things, but you guys are probably more familiar with the project than I am. We put it out to bid. There's actually 2 phases. There's going to be a clearing and snagging, a larger phase that'll go after this that's in the same area. But this is basically the repair where it's about to wash out next to the road out there towards Little Snowbird Creek. We had 2 bidders on the actual engineering. Obviously, this is actual design engineering. You got to go out for bid for contractors. So this is the actual design and repair of this area. 4D Engineering came back with a price of $21,200. And then as you see here, LDSI out of Kinston, North Carolina. Their total cost to also host all the process for the solicitation comes to $13,500. 4D Engineering is, I think, out of Rock Hill, South Carolina area. 4D is actually the engineers on the school project, the civil side. So we'd like to get this awarded, so I'm asking the board to consider that awarding this contract to LDSI for $13,500.
This is the money that's funded from the USDA.
USDA, yeah, that's correct.
Keep project.
Yes, he did.
I'll make most of the LTSI Incorporated as the engineer for the road work on Little Snowbird.
Right, second. All in favor?
Very good. Okay, this is sort of the last item that I have prepared for tonight. I think Ms. Vicky may have 1 or 2 items. It's sort of a multifaceted item. I'm going to try to make it as unconfusing as I possibly can because it started with, as you know, quotes from last year, and then now I've received, you'll see 2 packages. There's 3 packets, but these 2 first initial packets are going to be 3 quotes for each size building. We had 3 quotes from Premier, and you'll see Western Builders of Silva. The reason why I had to go through Western Builders of Silva is they are a Kirby metal building supplier, and they're their dealer in this area. So I had to solicit through Western Builders to get this quote. So one's 30 by 64, 3 quotes, one's 30 by 50, 3 quotes. And you'll see the timelines. I think the Western Builders, he wasn't prepared to commit in writing, but his is about 28 to 30 weeks itself for their buildings. And as you can see, Premier comes in at 21 to 24 weeks each quote, and they are the cheapest quote. At $25,850 for Premier, 20 to 24 weeks timeline, which is the best I've been able to get so far. As you look at Western Builders, and again, in the 2 different packets, you see 37,655 for the 30 by 64. Again, I think theirs is around 28 to 30 weeks. As you look down Western Builders, I actually asked them to also price the actual putting the building in concrete. So that 102.5 includes the actual installation. I'll go into that a little more in depth here in a minute when we talk about the package. Then Renegade, as we discussed the last time, 30 to 36 weeks is $43,200. Again, it's a different price for both buildings. 30 by 50, you can see that the prices in the actual install price from Western Builders. To add to this, when I was talking with Premier, it was important because I felt like they had the best price and the best timeline, which is a plus to get both in itself. Obviously, if we could get one next week and pay a little bit more, we might be considering doing that. But in this case, Premier was the loan. I went back to Premier for 2 things. I said, okay, if we buy 2 buildings at the same time, and we keep that 21 to 24 week delivery time, could we just order both at the same time and get them delivered? And he said, yes, we can get them delivered and save on an extra freight charge, so they can actually stack them on the same truck. So he saves some money in that regard. So what you find in the next package that I gave you, which doesn't include any other bids, includes they've included the insulation, which I'll get to that in just a second. They've included the insulation, and why, if you would add the other 2 quotes up, these are a little bit more. They've included the insulation and putting both trucks on the same truck, or putting both buildings on the same truck and freight. And the lowest one, where they have the 2 metal buildings, comes to $52,600. And that includes the standard PBR panel on the roof. The PBR panel on the walls I'm not too afraid of, but it includes the PBR, which is a panel bearing roof panel. And as you look at the picture of that, I did this for some people that may not understand. As you see with that picture that I've included, those are you're screwing through the metal on the roof, and you have those fasteners that could potentially cause something down the road, which is fine. They do it all the time, but I also wanted to see what it would cost for a standing seam roof with the same wood. And that's the last package that I offer, is the 2 buildings. The price goes to $58,400, and I've offered an example of a standing seam if you don't know what that is. There are no exposed fasteners. So I felt like that price was certainly worth not having to worry about the maintenance over the life of the facility. We're still in this 21 to 24 week time frame, and it would come under, if we decide to go with a standing seam roof, $58,400. I'll go back to the insulation, I'll verify this. I think this is included in the insulation package. With what we've considered and what we've done in other facilities, I'd like to take out that fiberglass insulation package and propose to the board, when we build these buildings, we spray foam. Because it also adds, the R value is so high, that's what it offers with spray foam, is the equipment it would take to cool and heat the facility. The BTUs drop down, or the tonnage drop down, which would make the heating and cooling equipment more reasonable. We'll let me save money in that realm as well. So I think that $58,400 the price would come down a little from the insulation package. I think it was $2,450 for the insulation package on the 30 by 64, and about $1,900 on the 30 by 50. I recommend to the board that we go with Premier and get these buildings on order this week. Now, I promise that I will make sure that we're looking at our set of plans before we order it, and make sure there's nothing that's hidden, that they're looking at our floor plan layout, what our intent is for the building, and it still goes forward with that this week. But we do need, with Premier, they're looking at another price change probably by Monday, so we need to order by Friday. If you don't want to make a decision tonight, I'm just giving you that option if you want to look at this a little bit more in depth. But it's a really good price to have 2 metal buildings delivered. And I'm running the numbers now with the installation. Kenny McKeon, I've got a price to install, that's what he does for a living. I ran my numbers with the site work, Kenny McKeon installing, and the concrete work. It still comes in under Western Builders number, as I provided as their total install. Although Western would be a little easier on me, they would have it until they walked away, but we would have I think we'd have a better deal going with Premier. And I'm still working with Premier on seeing what they would do it for, what they would do to complete, just stand the building up and walk away.
We're back down there before we talk about more the first primary.
Yeah, that's good. I'll make a motion that we accept the Premier's bids. Can you go with it? Get an order.
Have a motion to accept Premier bid. Have a second.
Yeah, that's a good point. Again, I recommend going to 58, you can see the difference in the price. 58 would be just standing seam panels on the roof only, and you just do the panel bearing rib on the wall.
Why not just rip down there?
I agree. I think that difference is, what is it, $5,500 and some dollars a difference?
They chasing leaks.
I think that's money way ahead, with never really having to worry about penetrations and that, other than a vent pipe that have a metal boot around it.
Especially if it's right on.
Right. Yeah, but if you get a leak behind the.
Are they chasing leaks?
Yeah, we're going to worry about it.
I don't like that old installation.
It's a mess of looking in there, and you crush it when they put it against the purlins, and you're losing your R value when they screw the metal to it anyway. So,
I've never seen one that didn't have a siding ceiling from the water.
thank you.
It'll last as long as the building does.
Yep.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
I know this has been a long time coming.
I'm happy, excited.
Lots of time on the telephone for me. That's good to know.
Grant, administrative services.
Okay, that would be me. We got our grant scoring committee together, I think week before last, on the CDBG admin position. That committee consisted of Commissioner Wiggins, Manager Marino, and myself as finance. And I compiled the scores. L&J Services scored out at 280 out of 300 possible points. Withers Ravenel scored out as 300 out of 300 possible points. So our committee is recommending that the board appoint Withers Ravenel as our grant administrator on this grant.
Motion to appoint Withers Ravenel as the CDBG administrator.
Second.
All opposed?
Okay, and then we also had a similar request, as Manager Marino brought up regarding the festivals. This came from the Grant County Historical Association for their $10,000. We had discussed in budget last year to award the $10,000 and then pulled it back because it wasn't human services related. So I would just need to get the board's approval to appropriate that money. That will go toward the work that they're doing for asbestos abatement in the Snyder's building. So if the board chooses to award that for 2021, then I would also need to have budget amendment number 20 as to bring that back into the budget.
Do we have a motion for this?
Motion for budget amendment number 20 for the $10,000 to the Grant County Historical Association.
Second. And second. All in favor?
Thank you.